in some regards.
Oh, okay.
Some of the herbals. So, I believe that wraps this up for tonight. Those of you who have her fancy glasses, please feel free to stay in the room and finish your drinks. The rest of you are free to walk about. Give us about a 10-minute break for us to rejuvenate our senses, use the bathroom, that kind of thing, and then we'll come back. And next up is my favorite class of them all, Creative Mixology, where I will tell you some of my tips and tricks on how I make my own custom cocktails.
Are these yours too?
I do not recognize that large glass, but
We'll hold on to them. I know this is mine.
They're back there. So
This is my plastic one, so.
yeah, because I didn't bring it.
Or you know how to use them anyways. So, do you need a break or are you good to?
I'm good. I can watch the table.
I'm gonna go upstairs and finish my
I'm doing
absence.
3 hours of karaoke.
I would be doing, I'm going to. It's
AWA.
Calamity shall return. Do not disappear with my old ransom gin. Oh, okay. Yes, that's the old Tom gin. It's quite tasty. It's very decadent.
The thing I primarily drink is scotch.
If you like
bourbon,
scotch, the
stuff
gin,
like
the gin
that.
you would like, if you like scotch, you would like this gin if you like scotch, because this is aged in oak cask. This is a gin that tastes very similar to a scotch. If you want, you can get a little plastic cup and have yourself a sample.
Oh, yes.
Shall we return? I have to fetch my absence.
I don't know. It was really just sampling these straight.
I didn't realize, so I said that I'm on, lowers my tolerance to alcohol. What I didn't know was that the cigar smoke would exacerbate that. It also triggered, it almost triggered an alcohol. And then on top of that.
So you guys doing it?
We're doing what we're doing after this.
Yes.
I'm doing it right
So put all those together.
Oh yeah, you start they have
Let me try this.
And
He said,
I'm doing
if I like scotch, I'm
American
willing to.
Candy. I'll be talking briefly about the effects of
I'm gonna stay for the
resolution
class
on
and I'll go
and I got back.
Oh, wow.
And I got back later. Side by side comparisons of homemade caramel versus kind of.
I got back here about
I'm sorry, but everybody would. Yeah, I don't understand.
And also we talked about the science of candy.
It's confusing actually. Traditions of beautiful drink. You know, traditionally to get good figures, they used to cut all off. Why not do that again?
Certain things, why the recipe tells you to do it this way, do it that way.
They were just here.
Just a lot of fun stuff like that.
I know, I missed him though. I saw him before that. Yes. The last time.
I have some salty whiskey caramel.
It was really funny. I used to work at this craft bar that they had tea nights and then serve alcohol. Yeah, before my shift would start, I called it a grandpa's cough syrup.
I do have.
Basically, I would go. They had a bunch of free liqueurs on the back shelf. I would just
Since you
pour
are,
all of the fruit stuff.
yes ma'am.
And this was in my back in
Thank
But I used to just pour all the fruit stuff, like
Yes,
whatever
no
tropical
problem.
punch I was felt like, and then whatever room was left, I just add orange juice, and then a big
Is
red
that coming from
Solo
your
cup.
sequence?
And that
I
was
think
my
that's
first
coming
order.
from the feathers.
How much change would you like?
No, I'll have to try to clean it somehow. This,
Change. Okay. Well, I can give you 5 ones.
that's fine.
And that's on a smart, I can do this too.
The chain does not come off to wash that.
No, I know, I will try to clean it. I think I can clean,
Yes.
I think I can clean the.
Yeah, this is the one that's supposed to smell like scotch and taste like scotch, I believe. It's a
She had that last night, it's really good.
Yeah, it is really good.
Wow.
I see little red feathers.
Yeah, they're coming from me.
They trail when they follow us.
Me too. What is yours? Big ass.
You enjoyed it? The recipe is on my blog and I've got the cards right there.
What was that?
Salted whiskey, actually, since everyone is here, I can offer salted whiskey caramel, so I'm doing candied ones. That's my specialty.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you have a preference for homemade candy.
Yes, I'm actually not a big sweets eater, but if I'm going to get it, I'll just get it homemade.
I see, so yeah, we haven't met before, we went and came back.
I just prefer protein. Was the question, why do I make candy or?
Yeah, like, well, you're running a panel on candy, really looks interesting.
It's interesting, it's entertaining, and it's a lot more scientific. Salted whiskey caramel. You got salted whiskey. Anyone else?
Yeah, I love one.
I think I gave you one last night.
Seriously,
I
get
know I
it.
there's some on the table.
Yeah, I didn't get one.
He was probably not paying attention.
So, as soon as this panel's over, there's
I'll be
nothing going
watching.
on, kind of shut it down for a
You
little
had
bit.
the,
Have your
candy
way.
cane.
The candy cane vodka.
Did not try it, but I heard about it.
You know,
I
go find a
actually have
nice
some
little
with me as
corner,
well,
get
but
it out
I'll
of the
probably
way.
tell you about that
Yeah.
during the,
That's just cool.
I like science, I like cooking.
Okay.
And with candy making, it's two commodities.
Get it out of the way.
While it is
Wow.
really difficult to get a representative cooking product, if you want a specific result, you really first want to use your candy making specific.
Oh, hell yeah, that
You
was
should learn
good.
Connex. That's not the way, because by the time you're halfway through the night, you're like the big last big night of Saturday night.
It's a fascinating.
So you might as well get up.
And I just
That's what I do. Like me, George, whatever we're
Practicing all those
We're gonna wait till
things
it
that
gets
I'm
there.
talking about, that way I can say,
Get it out of
here's
the
this
way.
recipe,
Because it's probably the
this is what you do, this is why you do. Because I've also found that if I understand why we do things, I tend to remember to do it.
I mean,
Maybe so earlier.
Salted whiskey here, I don't drink it.
Oh, I
It's not
It's
like
really
nothing
good.
you will ever.
I've actually put caramel.
Yes, I love salted. Tennessee, another drink.
Okie dokie.
I'll have a panel tomorrow. Because I don't think I can be up much.
I watched what happened playing.
Were you at PlayerCon? So you saw it happen?
Yes, well, because there is salted and caramel, you
It doesn't taste
sprinkle
so
I
good.
use fleur-de-sel.
He had,
which is a
you know
particular
how
type of
heavy your
salt.
silk gets when it's wet?
Sprinkle that every time. Table season, fridge, so I store that.
You can't
all more salted.
Where you can, do you know what, where else?
I was gonna say, it eventually takes a lot of salt.
I'm okay with giving it.
It's
Yes.
way too heavy.
The first time I ever made that recipe,
Before that,
I used a grinder
Yes.
and I did not have a concept in my head of how much a
You didn't see that.
tablespoon
That
should
one,
look
that
like.
was basically.
And I wound up with lots less salt than it should have had.
What are you doing here?
So
You
people
didn't
who
see
had my
nothing.
first
No,
batch
you
were
had
very
everything.
surprised by the amount of salt in the batch.
I'm supposed to
But I
have
like
some
that.
and didn't need that hot.
What are the qualities of
Everybody said, no,
Yeah, I think we look
Um,
for that.
I pretty much make anything. I have a friend who's asked for it because they like it. So I'm.
No, he was trying to give you a chance.
That's the stuff we
That's
we don't have the booze. You like that stuff.
So, you know, if I
No.
can successfully produce that, I'll be talking about you.
No, it was just one that I had.
See,
I
I've
left it
made
out. He
butter
decided to
fudge
deploy and blot it out.
for calamity, which unfortunately isn't.
Loving the weave and loving the
I'm trying right
joints.
now, so I don't know if it turned out okay. I've never made it.
Nice job. You're,
I found
you're
it,
lucky
again,
lady.
that's one of those things that you don't do it exactly according to recipe. I've got two versions. I'm trying to find one I can fudge the other way up there.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, the next day when we were sober, he looked at us and they were like, have a reach out.
There's the other
Make
version
sure.
that's natural.
Neat, very neat.
Yeah,
There's a market
it's,
for
well,
Welsh chain.
like I was saying, it's really difficult to have.
Something like this, like you put the old cigar cover on the end of it.
You don't have result.
Probably smaller gauge, maybe
Second
between
time
this
I
and your standard,
I
same
accidentally
heavy, medium.
sugar.
Between those two,
No, I didn't.
those two diameters.
But he's already hitting.
Which is still a good one, but it's not, I have to make yet another batch because I can't bring it. Oh, this is super hard candies, they taste like toasted marshmallows.
You just call it toasted hard candy and a marshmallow.
No, it's,
Well, it's because.
I think I spilled some of the white sangria on it and then my
Have to
be
have to
laying on it as
hard
they.
to-
I love that. We can-
But you have to do it.
No, what happened was, Chef's Park,
The whole bar needs to be something.
Which gives it that distinct.
no, we were good.
Which is part of what's they call it caramel.
By the time we got to work, it was
Yeah,
They had
So
run out of all
We'll
the
walk
I
you clean
corrected
as
it
well.
a little too hot.
Yeah, 'cause that's the
And by the time I came back to the pan, when I got to 300%, it was gold.
Well, you can't throw this in
There's
the
two
machine,
clear.
but
It was supposed to have the caramelized
Yeah.
flavor to
It was
it.
whiskey, vodka, rum, gin, straight hard liquor.
Yes, which are not
That
at
was
all
for
as
$6.70.
good as
I
they
didn't get
sound.
sriracha till eight.
Totally different
Oh,
sauce.
yeah,
The ones that I made,
I didn't get
really
triple six. We had
fluffier
triple six.
because
and
since I was making it
sriracha.
to
I
talk
didn't
about
get
your
shrimp,
panel,
the
the recipe called for using a
That's
standing
full shot.
mixer.
very much.
And then I didn't get
Not everybody has a standing mixer. They
Oh, so maybe
use
that's
the
second dinner.
Yeah.
and all that.
Thank you.
And so didn't bring didn't have the proper rotation speed.
Shots of
Marshmallows are denser and probably about half the height.
Yeah, the other one.
They're still delicious, they still taste like marshmallows, everyone who's tried them like, oh, yeah, we can take
Good lord, tonight's the night. Yeah, tonight's the night people trying to get
but they're not big fluffy marshmallows like those.
And
I just
Gotta keep myself busy, keep myself out of trouble.
But yeah, it's pretty much you boil some sugar, and syrup, and then you have some lemon flavored.
Oh, yeah, this is what people were doing around.
I have made this.
And then even up in the seventies, they didn't have grits were kind of more
I
widely
don't know how yet, but I expect you to
For the ice with that.
these
And
were
I'm
still
One thing that helps, coffee is
I made
called.
you both the
easy
martini.
learn all
Familiar
about
with
the like
like the stuff that
walk with
coffee smell, okay, then you if you're going to make this stuff,
and you know, we're in a situation where
get the
this is
coffee as fresh as possible, crack it, and then toss it.
I still call it martinis.
Because that way you can pull in the essential oils.
Or some, to make it happy, I'll say,
What
okay,
you're
it's
looking at is, which,
yeah, my tiki.
you know, alcohol extract, essentially this way. When you make
It's
this
basically a
stuff,
tropical flavor.
you crack, you do a course
It's actually one of my top shelf
crack, you
martinis because I
don't
use
make it fine.
tiki and gold.
Okay, right on.
When you take it out, the beans come on your hands, like,
Yeah, try it, that would be
like
good.
dirt.
I'm just here trying to
Yes.
What I usually do with my martinis,
All
though,
of
when I
that.
come home, is I usually do
Those,
with
that structure.
Oh, right on.
Is
I
now
don't
water.
dirty my Bombay. I only twist my Bombay. I
So,
only dirty,
that, when you
actually, I don't really drink
that,
that often.
you have
I
to
don't
be
like to put the
careful, you
brightness
have
in
to
the
quality
martini. I don't like to hold the olive in the
that's
glass.
also in your structure.
I mean, it's okay. I just, it gets me a little strong for me. I think.
My wife makes limoncello. I found out that outside of the gun, the fastest way to scare in the package store is to go kerplunk with 4 handles. They'll get like,
Well, I am going to San Francisco.
their eyes will get very, very large and they'll say, why do you want this?
So, is there anything I need to know about pirate vodka? Because I buy in California.
That's what
No,
happened
it's
the
just,
first
I
time they
remember,
did
it
that.
always has years.
After that, they didn't ask because they know
Got in my
we're.
grocery.
But yeah, when you're adding turkey proof vodka to cut diffusable alcohol flavor,
Or a gas lamp by Everclear. Right.
then it takes, you're diluting it with vodka down to 80%.
At the time, yes. And it was actually all liquor store, so my brother's like,
The amount of days going on. And I'm like, well, I'm going to make sure I turn it 12 liters. And I'm like, yeah, and I'm going to get my care about my Indian
I make limoncello, so I've got the quickest way to scare a bartender that doesn't ever come to a liquor store owner that doesn't have all the guns, is to walk up to the counter with about 4 handles of everything. They're like, ma'am, be careful, you don't burn your house down with that
Well, at least it's all
stuff.
in one.
Yeah. You're like, my wife and I can't do this stuff.
Mainly because I've been trying to get my hands on the event, but, and you can't get it around. I've looked it up filing, in New York, and you can get my San Francisco.
Are you always like?
And I found the store,
Because they carry that over state lines.
Sad about one point. But the liquor store is half a mile from the hospital. I would think, and I told you, I'm not on the recovery, and I'm sure you're okay, and you're sleeping. I'm running up. Because I've been wanting,
I'm not going to me, that's way over sweet.
and I really want to try it.
For most people, they can go or
Yeah.
I'll give it to my overall video.
It's just UPS ground ship.
Yeah.
As you,
Carry the vampire vodka. It's a decent vodka. It's not very sweet or only vodka.
It's the station.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I had to drink, I did
Too much with any other.
Bones.
With any other.
Good answer.
It loses that heat.
There was only one bite.
So you can mix it.
Are you staying for the next one?
And then the mic.
Okay, good, because I didn't hear about my most unusual recipe I've ever created.
So technically, anyone with this will
I need to come up with some.
You have,
You have to, you have to
out
file
here
it
on the table with that, but I just haven't got that information.
Well, it depends on the length of the mic.
And I have somehow to get through all this and get through at least part of the men without pants party.
Intensity about that.
Intensity is probably a very good
I looked up on the champagne and the
Yes.
difference, and one of them is that previous to the 1930s or so, Swedish champagnes were kind of more in style. And this glass kind of shows them off to better advantage, whereas the flute,
The drier champagnes.
the aromatics go better with the drier and the flute. Plus, like he said, these cause the carbonation to go much quicker.
Well, all I know is don't put champagne in a wine glass because it will go flat like that.
Yeah.
And it's nasty.
Or drink it fast.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't drink it that fast.
this is very good, but.
Oh, the cordial? Yes.
I have to admit, I was talking up my hair and
Oh, please, by all means.
Fast,
Do you have, can I try this?
I wanted to come to the.
I think I'm willing to try a piece. I had a sip of alcohol and it didn't kill me, so I'm gonna try a piece of candy. So far today, I have to be honest, so far today I've eaten about a half a packet of crackers and a half a cucumber sandwich.
I'm sorry.
And most of it I did to myself.
I'm really hoping it turned out.
One little thing I want to say about glasses, you know, I know like you said, most everything is served in the old-fashioned glass, but I make an espresso martini. And with espresso vodka and vodka, I
Oh, that sounds really good.
put milk in it and shake it.
Yeah?
I serve it in a champagne flute, because if you do that, you'll get this froth separate on the top. So it looks like a cappuccino basically. I put it in a martini glass, no froth. No separation at all. It's something about the shape of that, because when I had them at the restaurant, that's what it looked, it's separated out. Oh, they call them an espresso martini, but to me it should be a cappuccino martini.
I managed to smoother than that top froth. This is what my
So
mom
I make it at home and do that, but yeah, put it in any other glass.
brought me childhood in my mouth.
No synthetic.
Yay! Maybe I'll just use some.
Well, I would use skim milk, 'cause that's what I
I
had.
think if
But,
or do I can make it last?
it was
Did
like,
you
make it an hour, bro?
That's why I didn't cut it.
Oh, you cut it?
The bottle's misleading, it's actually
She is having
some of the
my mother's
now
having heart valve
extinct
replacement.
Mary
And
Lyons.
I was thinking, you know, you can take me
the
some of that,
French,
but she's having heart valve
Veuve
replacement. I don't
Blanche.
think finishing is gonna be on top of my
And
Okay, basic tools.
I like this one because it's very
See,
early.
Yeah,
as I mentioned at one point in
not a
time,
big Ripper
originally my panels that I've done in Ohio,
So it's, yeah.
I've done one panel.
I've taken.
You should stay away from.
And everything I'm talking about, these first two panels, plus what I'm gonna talk about now, coming up,
They have
was
a
done in
very
one
high alcohol
panel.
content.
And it was easy.
Very high licorice content. The French ones tend to be more.
And you know, I barely ever went over 10 hours.
Because they're French.
Peter Beer, there's it was
But I've actually, the only one I really
panels.
like is strange.
Yeah, I don't
I
put
just,
sugar in
I
it.
was supposed to be 2 panels. I told him I could do 2 panels, and then he made it to 3.
Can we just do question and
It's one of those more.
I thought the first one was lower, I'll figure it out okay.
Yeah.
But you know, you have a good one.
I love this last panel, I love that last one, because that was,
It's about,
It seems to be the conventional wisdom that modern era of cocktails.
does more than just.
Right.
It broadens the capillaries and makes it wide awake.
Right, exactly. And to offset.
So you're getting an oxygen rush in your brain.
I remember reading something that there is a chemical, I don't remember the name, but a chemical in World that is so bad. And there's more of that
modern times that you make, I mean, there was some.
Yes.
People
than there would be in a
It
combination.
was a matter of.
And most people obsess on that. And all
I know, and that's not
It
true,
really
so.
the reason
art
it
of
can show up
mixology really
as
flourished
positive on
when
drug
it
tests
was
for
legal.
marijuana.
When people could take their time.
Similar to THC, but it's not sex. But it's.
And here we have the scariest man in the venue, or at least the scariest gauntlets in the venue. I love them. There it is. I love them because you can use them to open things. No,
Like Dora's.
they are nice. I like that.
No, not those.
Oh.
Would you like to have my product?
Do you make those? Oh, definitely. Although I'm sure there's enough alcohol in here to kill anything.
Yeah, you don't wanna fill
Yeah, it's
everything
sterile.
all
I'm-
the way
It's
up.
sterile, there's no concern.
I'm only taking little sips of things right now because
That's
I'm in recovery from a really bad night.
Scientific sampling, not
We can do that.
alcohologist.
We had a great
Yeah,
conversation.
we don't have a bottle on BYOB.
Right?
I don't know why.
Oh!
I took a splash.
It's that good.
Salted whiskey caramel.
Woo! Baby!
From the mountains with love.
Oh,
I
that's
do
good
that.
stuff.
I forget to eat.
Everybody else is like,
haven't tried
"Can I try some?"
I was wondering what it was.
That's a great.
I have a bunch of it in my freezer.
Woo!
Like this.
Nice, tasty.
White lightning. Oh,
I'm not gonna compare because I know what I have in my freezer.
That's fine. I know what I have in my hand.
That's all that matters.
All right, we're not having a pissing contest about moonshine, especially since you didn't make it, so zip it.
I know, I didn't.
No, it's not a pissing contest. When I have something in my hand, it's usually my own dick, so I'm not gonna compare
Yeah,
my dick to
mine-
your
mine-
dick.
mine is
So,
his.
it doesn't really,
If you start whipping out
equal to
dicks, you're
anything.
both fired.
Wait,
Yeah, well,
The men
I don't have a job, I do this for a
Yeah.
living, so, you know, them Duke boys, yeah.
and while you're talking about your
My
dicks,
If he's mine, I
you're
can fire
mine.
him.
Fair enough.
I'd rather play with hers. Her dick's tasty.
Although actually, out of all these, I've only got 2 of my original blends up here, so. The Aether Gale and the Diabolical Mastermind.
What is it?
That one we have to wait for Emma Peelout to come back because I made that drink specifically for her. And so
It's her property.
it's her property. But the Aether Gale is up for grabs.
We talked about the fusions.
Yes, as soon as we get, are we ready to get started on the next panel?
I was gonna say, what is the next one?
The next panel, ladies and gentlemen,
8:30.
welcome to Creative Mixology, a peek into Calamity Dawn's process. I being Calamity Dawn, of course. This is really where my forte really lies. This is what I love to do. All that other stuff was just stuff that I used to kind of learn and pick up because of the things I love to do, which is make people drunk. One of my greatest passions in life is watching grown men and women become really silly. Sometimes there's a removal of clothing, there's often what seems to be profound and evocative commentary, which the light of the next day may not quite seem as philosophical, but is always entertaining. And to further that desire and that lust for life, I thought making drinks. I explained in my very first panel, the first time I created a drink, the Kraken's Delight, which will be available later. If you've seen me earlier in the convention, I was carrying my large flask named Baby. It's a 64-ounce flask that has the Kraken's Delight, and I will be fetching that forth for the Men Without Pants party. So all the more reason to come back to the party. So Kraken's Delight was the first thing I ever created. I did so because I thought it'd be fun to carry something around a convention, but I didn't want to just carry around rum. I wanted to create something tasty and and different. Ooh, that stuff has a bite. That just doesn't wet.
It hits you a little bit
Comes back.
later too.
Oh, I did, yeah. Ooh, that's the last thing I'm drinking tonight, alcoholic-wise, I'm afraid. I'm working on this here. Kraken's Delight, yes. So I took it to a convention, I shared it with some friends, and they all went, wow. I thought, that's cool. Are you ever gonna make anything else? Yeah, I'm gonna make something else. So I came up with my second drink, which is called the Weasley's Revenge.
Oh, God.
Inspired, we were having an experiment, we were experimenting, I'm like, I wanna make something new, let's experiment. Harry Potter happened to be on, and there was a scene where she's whipping that wand out, and she says, not my daughter, you bitch! And I'm like, Weasley's Revenge, that's what we'll call the drink. No surprise, it is also a ginger-based liqueur. It is heavily gingered. So, from the Weasley's Revenge came other drinks and other drinks, Thor's Hammered. Which Thor's Hammered actually features White Lightning in it. Or a White Lightning in it, because Thor's Hammered, he's the god of thunder. I had to have White Lightning in there. Got some Baron Jaeger in there, because, you know, Thor's kind of hot and sexy and sweet. So, Thor's Hammered. Anywho, moving on, I created a whole slew of drinks. I have about 30 recipes right now. The most unusual drink, and this is what I'm going to kind of walk you through the process of the creation of this drink. Just to give you an idea of how I work. The most unusual drink on my menu right now is something called the Special Hell. It is part of my Big Damn Heroes line of drink.
There is a special girl.
Yes, there is a Special Hell, and it is in my glass. And you know what has occurred to me? One of these days I actually have to go through my potions here, my potions list here, and actually maybe alphabetize them. Glancing for this recipe, I would like to take a brief aside. Actually, I don't need that one. I would like to make a brief aside to talk about something I like to do, which is vodka infusions. I like to make my own vodka infusions. I do not have any of my individual vodka infusions on hand.
I do.
Although this one has some of my vodka infusion in it, and if the extraordinary concoctions, I have a very little bit of it left. Actually, there's some of the extraordinary concoction in the sangria. Feel free to help yourselves to the sangria tonight, by the way. That's up for grabs. The easiest way to do a vodka infusion for me, and sometimes I do it when I want a flavor for a drink and you just can't find it anywhere else. Sometimes I make it because somebody gives me a really interesting candy and I said, ooh, I'm gonna soak that in vodka. I usually not just soak it, I usually dissolve it in vodka. I don't do the gummy bear thing. I dissolve my candy in vodka. The most recent infusion I did, I have some sweet clove candy, which I soaked in vodka. I made sweet clove vodka, and it is absolutely. So the easiest thing to infuse is candy. The nice thing about doing home infusion is you know the ingredients. You got your vodka, and you got whatever candy or whatever you put in it. There's nothing else, just vodka and whatever you put in there. So my method is really simple. I take a handful of candy. I start putting candy in use quart-sized mason jars usually for my personal uses. I just start putting candy in the bottom of this mason jar until I think I've had enough. And that's really just kind of I think I need a little more. Nah, that's good enough. Then you cover it with vodka, you seal it tight, and you stick it on a nice cool dark shelf until it dissolves. In the case of the sweet clove candy vodka I made, it dissolved in about 3 hours. In the case of the Reese's peanut butter cups, it took 3 days. And even then, there was still a lot of solids I had to strain out. Yes?
Does it matter what kind of vodka you use?
Yes, it does. The cheaper the vodka, the worse it's gonna taste. You get what you pay for.
Something you'd be willing to do.
But then again, you don't wanna go out and buy a bottle of Crystal Head vodka, and infuse with it. That's a crime.
Yeah.
So I usually use a mid-range vodka. I found actually one called Sobieski is a very good mid-range vodka. Sometimes I've splurged and gone ahead and gotten a big jug of like the Smirnoffs, but usually the Sobieski is perfect for my uses.
We use Rain.
Rain's good.
360's
good.
Yeah, I like 360. I like their glazed donut vodka.
Yes, but she's gluten intolerant, so that's
that would be another thing. I didn't realize it was.
Rain is gluten free.
I'm going to actually I'll make some with that then, because I do have some friends who have gluten problems. So thank you for that tip.
I like iceberg for making what's that I make? Vanilla extract.
Yeah.
Iceberg is very neutral.
Do not use UV vodka. I find it tastes too medicinal. I did a couple of infusions with the UV and it was just like. Now some things that don't infuse well. Artificial cherry flavoring, candy cherries. It will turn out like Vicks.
Yeah.
Unless you like Jonesing for the days when you used to buy Robitussin and slam it down to get drunk. I highly recommend you skip the cherry infusion. If you're going to do a cherry infusion, buy fresh cherries. I did a Bing cherry infusion. That turned out delicious. I never gave a name to this particular cocktail, but I took the Bing cherry and some vanilla vodka, put them together in a glass, and said, yum.
Make sure that they're pitted, because
Yes.
otherwise you will get
the
arsenic.
cyanide.
Yes, although if you're making cordials with cherries, or apricots for that matter, if you're making cordials with those, a few stones, bruise a few of the stones and put a few of the stones in there, it adds a very interesting element to your cordials. I read that in Steam Drunks.
Same with Malvo. I did that on purpose.
Problem with poisons is poisons are delicious.
Yes.
Alcohol.
Which leads me to a drink I made called La Belladonna. I have to talk about this drink real quick before I get into special hell, because La Belladonna is using one of my new old favorite finds. Years and years ago, my father-in-law, back before I was a booze hound, they had gone on a trip to South Africa and found this cream liqueur there, which they brought back home with them, called Amarula. Which at that time you couldn't get in the United States, and it was delicious. Lo and behold, fast forward a few years, and it's everywhere. Hooray! It is so good. If you want a nice cream base for a drink that doesn't taste like Irish cream, get the Amarula. It's made from the marula berry. It has a very light, delicate, almost a floral flavor to it. It's very very good. It's almost, it's slightly caramelly. It's an amazing cream liqueur. You do need to shake your drinks with it. It will clod, as we found out when my husband added some of my Blue Skittle vodka to the drink. Why he chose to add Blue Skittle vodka to Amarula, I still don't know.
Because it's pretty.
All I know is it looked like nuclear waste when he was done. And
It was pretty.
he eventually, we rarely ever throw out drinks. That was when we threw out because he did not feel like chewing his drink. So, Special Hell, the most unusual drink I've ever made. This is a good one for, it's a multi-step process that Special Hell took. I wish I could give you Special Hell, but Special Hell is one of the recipes I created for Professor Charles Duncan under secret back alley plans, and the recipe is his to do with as he chooses. Only he and I know the recipe in proportion. So I will be talking my process without actually talking proportions. Special Hell started off because we made a deal that I was going to give him a drink, make him a drink if he gave me a case of wine. This is important because he works for Seeker Wines, and I was happy to get a case of Seeker Wines for what I consider to be nothing at all. And I knew I wanted to make him something special. One of his things is he is best known for in his area is not only as a Seeker wine distributor, but tends to dress up as Captain Mal. So he said, I want a drink and I want to call it Special Hell. I want a Big Damn Heroes drink. I said, okay. And I knew that he sold wine, and I knew that he liked scotch. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to make a drink that has red wine and scotch in it? Most people would say nay nay, but I said uh-huh. So I started. First iteration of it featured an 8-ounce glass of wine and a 2-ounce shot of scotch. Didn't work very well. Not at all. So then proportions of scotch and wine changed till eventually, and I will give you this, it has 1 ounce of red wine and half an ounce of scotch.
You ought to put saffron in it.
We tried that, it didn't quite work. It didn't quite work. It has a little bit of Tabasco sauce in it, just a little bit, just a dash. It has the secret ingredient, and this is where the mixology thing came to mind. We're sipping on this, we're like, oh, this isn't bad, it needs something, it needs something. And I was looking at my kitchen and I thought to myself, what can I do to make this Special Hell more special? White balsamic vinegar! So in went 3 cc's, this is the one proportion I will give you, the other 3 cc's only. I used my son's little, one of his extra syringes from his medicine when he used to do liquid thing, and squirted a little bit of white balsamic vinegar in with Tabasco, red wine, and scotch, and a secret ingredient which I will not name. And thus was born the Special Hell. So sometimes drinks can be brought about by names. Somebody can walk up to me and say, you know what? My steampunk name is Belladonna. I want a drink named after me, so La Belladonna, that's one. And that one is actually it's a 2-part drink. That one is 1 part Amarula cream liqueur and 1 part Stoli Sticky vodka, which is a honey flavored vodka, which is really cool. Stoli Sticky is useful when you want to put a honey flavor into a drink, but you don't want the heaviness of Bärenjäger, because it's got the consistency of a vodka and not the thickness of the Bärenjäger. And I find that do not substitute Bärenjäger for Liquor 43, because Liquor 43 has too many spices in it. Bärenjäger doesn't have the same amount of aromatics in it. So some of the other drinks I've come up with, the Aethergale. I suppose I could talk about the Aethergale since it's sitting right here, huh? Aethergale. In a cool bottle, which I got at the Christmas tree shops for $4.99. Christmas tree shops, $2.99. $2.99. I have a few dozen of these now. Aethergale. Let's see. How about somebody ask any questions while I look up this recipe? Any questions, comments, adverse opinions?
No, we're talking about where to find the bottles.
Tuesday morning might also have them.
I've seen them on Tuesday morning.
I know what that is.
I figured you would.
Aethergale, all right.
Yeah.
There's more to the Aethergale, because this gentleman had a sample of the Aethergale at the last.
So did several other people.
So did several other people. You shared it, you were generous. The Aethergale. This was created for Mr. Peter Beerslayer, who asked me to create something special for World Steam Expo for consideration by the Ladies in Temperance League. a secret Masonic-like organization of women who like booze.
I thought that was the women that hated booze and ran around with
Ladies
bricks.
intemperance.
Oh.
She's saying
Intemperance
Okay,
League.
sorry.
I am a madame of the Ladies Intemperance League. Anywho, so he wanted something special to show off my chops, to show off my skills, make me something different. So I created the Aether Gale. Aether Gale is one of these ones where I had a name and had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with the name. I was given a list of names. I have a list of names at home that I look at and say, okay, what are we gonna make? Sometimes I make a drink and a name just jumps off the list. Sometimes I'm figure out what name I want to use for a drink and don't know what the hell to do with it. It was the Aether Gale. So really what happened with the Aether Gale is I had just found and bought, because I thought it was unusual, a bottle of Square One cucumber vodka. It's like, ooh, cucumber vodka. I love cucumbers. Let's try this stuff. And I started playing with it. And as I started playing with it, this is one recipe where the Liquor 43 came into being. I added some Liquor 43 to it. I was like, ooh, that's really neat. That's where it wasn't the Baron Year, it was the Liquor 43. That's where you pick up the honey tones. And I added a little more just good old-fashioned vodka to it, because I find if a drink is getting too thick and too heavy in flavor, if you add just a little bit of clear vodka, unflavored clear vodka, it lightens everything up and opens up the flavor very nicely. Without detracting from the flavors inherent, because vodka itself, and the reason it's good for so infusions, it has no essential flavor of its own. Thus, Crystal Skull vodka or Crystal Head vodka smells and tastes almost like water, which is amazing. In case you didn't guess, that's one of my favorite vodkas.
That's where the word vodka comes from.
Yeah, it's Russian for little water.
Yes.
Vodka. Yeah, I took a little Russian in the army, so I know, just немножко.
Me too. Not in the army though.
Как дела? Меня зовут Calamity, как дела? Anyway, so yes, we have the Liquor 43, we have the cucumber vodka, we have a little bit of regular vodka. And I thought it needed something. It was missing something, and I actually, oddly enough, thought it needed more cucumber. So I turned to my collection and said, no, Hendrick's gin is not the answer for this. I don't want the juniper berry in this. And my answer was Pim's number one. Pim's number one. I looked at the Pims and I thought, yeah, baby, yeah. So I did the Pims, and it was good. And then it came the tricky part. Okay, I had a bunch of flavors together that worked well. I got a proportion just right. Okay, first shot. Oh, let's go with a 3/4 part Pims and a 1/2 part Liquor 43 and a 1 part vodka. That's not working. So eventually we came out with the final recipe, and again, if you email me later on getting one of my fancy little business cards up there from Airship Passport 2 in Dayton, like me on Facebook. I will give you recipes for any of the drinks that I've given recipe for, and you and I have our little special back alley.
I was wondering if you were gonna remember that.
I may have been drunk last night, but sadly, I rarely ever forget things. And there's things that I've done in the past and may have done last night that I kind of wish I could forget.
No, I'm glad you do, because I was actually gonna talk to you about that after.
Yes. So the final recipe came down to 1/2 part. 1/2 part Pims number 1, 1/2 parts Liquor 43, 1/2 part cucumber vodka, and 1/2 part to 1 part vodka, depending on how thin you want it and how pungent you want it. I like it thicker and more pungent, so I usually use a 1/2 part. One of my friends prefers it a little thinner. You mix all the drinks and stir. This is one of the few drinks I have that I've made that I actually prefer at room temperature versus being chilled. There's something about this drink when it's chilled that just doesn't tend to work for me. We're almost done here. Wow, this is going quick. So most of the recipes I try to come up with are things that I try to keep in mind that a lot of these recipes are for people to put in flasks and carry around for all day. I like doing that so people can share them and enjoy them all day. Some of my drinks, like the drink I have called the Tiki Triplertini, named after my dear friend Tiki Von Sexton, and it's a Triplertini because she and I lived in Hawaii at approximately the same time, and I lived right over Tripler Army Medical Hospital, and it was a pink hospital, so Tiki Triplertini is a pink martini. So most of my drinks, with a few exceptions, are made to be put in flasks and carried around. I have made, to date, 2 shooters to date. The Zydrate shooter, courtesy of Repo the Genetic Opera, and yes, it glows under a black light.
That's awesome.
And yes, it does often come in a little glass vial.
How do you get it to glow under the black light?
Quinine!
Yep.
Tonic water, glows blue.
Tonic
Yes,
water.
it does.
And if you want a drink that glows green, vitamin B12, be careful how much you add, it will alter the flavor of your drink, in both cases. The nice thing about the tonic water is you don't have to add very much of it to get it to glow.
glow-in-the-dark gummy bags, or Jello bags.
Yes.
Actually, I would the glow in the dark would be nice, and the B12 is useful because it depletes
And yes, and the B12 might be useful while you're drinking. The other shooter drink I have is one of the newest ones that our last big experiment night was on Super Bowl Sunday, because you know what's better than watching football, eating pizza, and making new drinks.
That was so boring.
Cutting meat for customers?
Well, what's better for me other
Super
than
Bowl got on air.
I love watching. Thank you for getting Super Bowl here. I was so happy, even though I'm in a different state. So we came up because Beyonce was the halftime act this year, and we were watching her, and she came out with her Bootylicious song, and there were flames flying around. I said, "Flames! We need to make a drink called the Flaming Bootylicious. Quick, let's work on it." So we did, and we now have a drink called the Flaming Bootylicious. That is the first Calamity concoction that lights up. Float a little Bacardi 151. Bacardi 151, highly flammable, be careful. I've shared this tip in other ones, I'll share it again. When dealing with drinks that ignite, please be aware of your facial hair. Nobody likes a scorched mustache.
Especially the person who's
I was gonna say.
So, any questions, comments, adverse opinions, helpful tips?
Use a grill lighter.
Oh, yeah. I use one of those to
Blow out the drink before you drink it.
Yeah, blowing out the drink before you drink it
We were
is
thinking
also,
more
yeah.
facial hair when you go to drink
Oh.
the
Yes.
drink.
Yeah, to blow it out
Yeah.
first.
Yes, because I usually use a one of those stick lighters, not usually.
I can envision drinking it while it's on fire. Right?
So you're here, I'll give you a sneak peek on some of the drinks that are upcoming from Calamity's lab. I have several lines of drink. I mentioned before I'm working on a series of Doom drinks. Water life.
Exactly.
I'm naming one Muad'Dib, the killing drink.
Cool. No fun.
Spice Melange, Fremen's Eyes, and some other things.
One's gonna have to be blue.
Yeah, the Fremen's Eyes are gonna be blue. Water of Life might actually be the one and only drink I ever make with tequila, because Calamity Dawn loads tequila. I have a good reason for it. Tequila is the one thing I've ever drunk that consistently, each and every single time, makes me want to kill myself in the morning.
The only classic cocktail that I like to have
That being said, I still
tequila
drink
in
each one right now.
is the Diablo, which is tequila and ginger ale with a little bit of either blackberry brandy or creme de cassis.
That actually sounds pretty tasty.
It is, and that's the only one that I drank, but that has tequila in it, but it's a classic cocktail too.
There's just something about tequila that gives me the most wicked morning afters where I hate life and I want to shoot myself in the head with a nail gun.
And unfortunately, I grew up drinking ginger ale when I got sick, so now I associate ginger ale with being sick, so.
Yeah, I have hot chocolate, yeah.
We're going to add more red wine to the sangria. So, if there's no further comments or questions, feel free to come up and maybe, yes.
Actually, there's a tequila, I don't know if you've tried it or not, the Asombroso, I've heard it called the butt plug tequila here because of the top.
Yes, I've seen it.
Yeah.
This is how you
The
make more sangria, by the way.
pinkish one is aged in red wine casks and actually doesn't seem to have the morning after effect.
I will look into that.
And it actually has a hint of red wine in it, so you might
like
want
your gin.
to use it
Like your
in
gin.
your mixes.
Oh, quick aside about the sangria, and thank you for the tip. I will. We have some of that at my liquor store at home, so I did not know that about why the pink stuff. So, neat thing about sangria, as the pitcher comes empty, now we just restocked it with wine. Oh, I had some more add some Sailor Jerry's to that too. The nice thing about sangria, when it starts to get low, and this is how sangria can be an experiment of mixology in action. As it gets low and you start running out of things to put in it, you just start putting you just start putting things into it. Rum. I went to a party once. I went to a party once. So I went to this party once, steampunk convention in Michigan, and the people there were throwing their happy little party, and they were serving sangria. And as the evening went on, they started running out of sangria, so they just started throwing all their leftover booze into the sangria jar.
Oh dear.
It was actually very good by the end of it.
Oh no, best drink I ever had is that way. I will never have.
I think I know a party because they had it like.
Ace of the Spades.
Huh?
It was the Ace of the Spades party.
No, this is different.
That was when we drank out of Steampunk Boba Fett's ice sculpture head. Somebody made an ice sculpture of Steampunk Boba Fett's head, and we carved a runnel down the back of his head, and so people were doing luges off of his head. Yes.
Have you heard of a group, speaking of anti-temperance, have you heard of a group called Lupec? Ladies United for the Preservation of Endangered Cocktails.
I have not, I should look
It's
this
a national group, they're pretty popular, yeah.
So it's a real group as compared to my not quite so
Yes,
real
no,
group?
it's really real, it's a whole national, they have chapters all over the country, it's competitions.
It's a match made in heaven.
Right.
Actually, I find people sing my praises throughout the evening and at the parties. It's the next morning that they come up and punch me. I love you, man. Oh, Calamity, you're oh God, I hate you. Never talk to me again.
If you've done your job properly, if they try to punch you, they'll miss anyway.
If I've done my job properly, the next morning they aren't going to be able to lift up their fist
That's
and
right,
punch me.
they want to punch you, but they can't.
Or they don't remember it was you.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I've got enough of a name for myself in Ohio now where they all know it's me.
If I got blacked out, it was probably Calamity.
I've got a bit of a reputation for having strong drinks because I do tend to use, this is one of these things, you get out of it what you put into it. I tend to have, sadly, the reason I'm broke is because I tend to buy top shelf liquors and use high quality liquors. Sailor Jerry's is one of the cheapest things I buy. Really, I mean, the Laird's is not very expensive either, but I don't like using cheap alcohol in my cocktails because it makes my drink taste cheap. And I want my drinks to be sublime, not, and also some of the ingredients I tend to use, like Genevieve rum, gin, like this. This is not, this runs, I got this at the liquor store just down and around the corner a ways, Meeks, I think. This was going for this was on sale for $35, and I considered that a steal. For this, I was like, that's a steal.
And it was tasty.
Yeah, the
Plus,
laziest,
check out this dang bottle, man, I can't wait to rip the labels off this and put something else in it.
yeah, the laziest cocktail I have in my cooler of fun cost me $45 just to mix up.
Which one was that?
That was the Mind Eraser, which has Goldschlager, Jaeger, and Rumplemans.
My most expensive cocktail. I do have a most expensive cocktail.
But I didn't actually do anything. It was my lazy cocktail.
Yeah, I had a cocktail in which I used St. Germain's elderflower liqueur, which is amazing stuff. Love St. Germain's. And will be one of the featured ingredients in the upcoming drink, Frenchie and the Pink. I'm working on a series of drinks named for or inspired by my favorite steampunk bands. So far, I have 2 completed and 1 in the works. I have the Extraordinary Concoction, who are playing very soon, or now. And
it is 9 o'clock.
yes, the Extraordinary Concoction, the Soul of a Band, which is named for a group called Fort Theater Reunion. They're very big in the Kentucky, Ohio area. My neck of the woods. They're really cool. If you get a chance to look them up on YouTube, check them out. Fort Theater Reunion. They're a lot of fun, and they're the greatest people in person. And Frenchie and the Pink is one of my next ones. I haven't figured out exactly where I'm going next year. I kind of want to make a drink based on the Fibonacci sequence, which could be kind of fun. And it would be kind of interesting if I could somehow mathematically figure out how to do it without killing someone. I'd start with one ingredient, and then I'd start with some.
If she disappears, we know why. Someone took care of her to avoid the stream.
So, once again, there's some samples up here. I'm going to actually pull the Diabolical Mastermind back here because Emma's not here to say we can have it. But everything else can be tasted, have at. Whatever's not finished here, for the most part, is going to be donated to Men Without Pants Party.
Oh gosh. Do they really even?
Yes.
If you're so inclined and want to show your gratitude to help me buy more booze for the next convention, I have a picture up here.
I mean, which one is this?
That I think is actually just Sailor Jerry's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious.
Yes. Would you like this?
First one for everything.
I have not heard.
Best friend is from New Orleans, so brought it back with him. So what makes it, they've got 3 here, you've got a clear,
This
they've
is
got
the
they've got a dark, and they've got a 10-year. Their
the
dark is my absolute favorite, it's got Cajun spices in it.
I
It is available.
want.
It is $50, including shipping.
I will look that up and.
It's just
I'll let you
New
pour it
Orleans.
yourself, because I tend to drink more than most people do, so I pour it down.
Yeah, I love it. I tend to use a lot of Kraken and all
Never had
that.
that.
Have you tried Black Tea or to try the Cube?
No.
Blackwell is not as smooth as Kraken, but it's got a little bit more of a.
One of my Kraken is, one one of my friends and I often get into heated debates because he's a Captain Morgan black man and I'm a Kraken man. Oh, I'm a man, baby!
You call yourself a man for that.
I have black and
No.
Now you can go in.
Actually, they make this bra, they make what they call the margarita bra. And this woman apparently made herself $1,500 in a day doing this bra, filling it with booze, and letting people drink out of the bra, you know, the nipples of the bra. One of my friends said, you should get that. I'm like, I mean,
Yeah. I have your card.
oh, wonderful.
I will contact you.
Yes, I will send you, I will show you the list. I've got the list right here.
Actually,